Going into a hyperbaric chamber, HBOT is a valuable tool. The whole premise behind life is to get more oxygen to a cell. Everything about life is being able to carry more oxygen. It's a known scientific fact that cancer does not do well in a high oxygen medium. If you check a person's oxygen, by putting that thing on their fingertip, and their oxygen is 99, it doesn't mean that not that much oxygen is going to every cell in their body. There might be cells in their body that are being deprived of oxygen. But then when you put that person in the chamber and you increase the atmospheric pressure, in many cases where people are having problems, it's valuable for athletes, anti-aging, very good for anti-aging. It could prolong a person's life for sure.
Dr. Fred Bisci will talk about healing with oxygen using a hyperbaric chamber.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have a return guest, Dr. Fred Bisci. Hello, Dr. Bisci. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, Paul. Can't complain, thank God.
Dr. Bisci, I thank you for coming back. You've spoken several times, and every time you've mentioned the great benefits of some called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I want to really focus in on that here today. And I know this is something that you do and you've done for a long time. So what got you interested in this topic?
Well, to go back a long way, many years ago, I was very heavily into athletics, and after I had my accident, I couldn't get my arm over my head anymore, and because I was a highly competitive Olympic type weightlifter, so I got into long distance running, and like all things in life, my personality, because of my early youth, I always did things in extreme. That's how I got into the raw food lifestyle. But when I was training marathons in ultra distance, I realized that somebody had mentioned to me about the hyperbaric chamber and how after you ran a marathon or longer distance, you got into a hyperbaric chamber, the recovery was almost instant. It was very, very dramatic. So, of course, I got very, very interested. And I got certified in operating a hyperbaric chamber. And I had my own hyperbaric chamber, which I can't use here where I live now. So, and I became aware of the potential to help people with different problems and different modalities. And it's really dramatic. And now I want people to realize that it's not a cure for anything, but it enhances the body's biochemistry by introducing more oxygen under pressure. As the person gets more and more treatments, the body becomes more biologically efficient, and its oxygen transport to cells, and that's the cells that are weak and dying or diseased, becomes more efficient. Now, there's different types of chambers, of course. There are, soft chambers, which usually you can, there are 1.3 atmospheres or 1.4 atmospheres, and they have semi-soft chambers that go up to 1.5 atmospheres. And then they have hard shell chambers, which go up to, could go up to 3.5 atmospheres, which is a lot of pressure. So when you get it, people that have there's only two conditions where a person should never get into a hyperbaric chamber. That's when they can't clear their eustachian tubes, they can't clear their ears. And the other one is if they have a hole in their lung. But, under supervision of a doctor, even with certain medical conditions done correctly, could get into a hyperbaric chamber and reap some really, as time goes on, do like maybe 20 sessions or 40 sessions. By the way, there's a doctor on YouTube who's very, very knowledgeable. He's probably the most knowledgeable guy I came across. I knew another guy that was a medical doctor that was extremely knowledgeable, but his name is Jason Saunders. I recommend people that are interested in Hyperbaric Chambers. Go on YouTube and check him out. He's got many, many videos on here about different topics. He just about explains everything, and he's a very knowledgeable guy.
Okay, back in the 80s, I mean, the only one I heard of doing a hyperbaric chamber was Michael Jackson. I think he was sleeping in them back in the 80s. But besides that, it really wasn't as well known as it is today. What caused it to go from not being well known and today it's so popular? What do you think? And it's getting more popular.
Listen,
what do you think it is?
I don't know anything about Michael Jackson, but he obviously didn't know what he was doing with a hyperbaric chamber, you know. So, well, the reason for that is like a lot of things that's going on in the health community, you know. I think years ago, a lot of information was purposely kept away from people that wanted to live a healthy lifestyle and, you know, be a better athlete and live a longer life. I think a lot of it's still going on today. A lot of people are just completely misinformed, and there's a lot of people putting out information that's really based on abstract science, and they're talking about science, that this is all based on science, when a lot of times it's not based on science. It's based on abstract science, because they're not introducing all the variables that take place in every individual. In other words, if they do double-blind studies on 50 people on a standard American diet, the same type of double-blind study, and they do another double-blind study on 50 people that are living a clean diet without the processed food, or eating a minimal amount of animal protein, or eating a vegan diet, even that's going to make a difference. But they should be doing studies on these people that are biologically efficient and have good chemistries. That's why people are coming up with such a wrong conclusions about how much these astronomical amounts of protein that you really need. You know, that might be true if you want to be Mr. Universe, or a bodybuilder to develop, you know, 22-inch arms and do a deadlift with 800-900 pounds. But that's conducive to being strong, but it's nowhere as near conducive to living a long life. When you're eating a diet that's got too much of anything, one way or the other, it's gonna make your body work harder. And if your body's working harder over a period of years, there's a very good chance you're shortening your lifestyle. That's like taking your car. You got a sophisticated automobile, Mercedes-Benz, a BMW. Oh, I like Kias. I think they're fabulous cars. I have one. If you drive it 140 miles an hour or at a time, rather than 35, 40 miles, obviously you're putting more wear and tear on the engine. Now, that's a mechanical machine. That's a little bit different. We are very sophisticated biological organisms. The human body is created in such an amazing way. I think a lot of people are not fully aware how the body has to adjust to the environment if you feed it the type of the diet that it was biologically optimally designed to eat. We don't look like mooses. We certainly don't look like lions, tigers, or big cats. You know, we don't have claws on our hands. We're not designed to optimally eat a diet with a lot of animal protein. You can eat some in a plant-based diet, and you could do well. We have the information today for people that are disciplined enough to do it, which aren't a lot of people that want to change or have the discipline to live, beyond 100 for sure. When I say live beyond 100, I mean to live a high-quality life, to have your full cognitive function, be able to do a lot of things that, a lot of people can't do. I think I sent you the videos. I was in a long march yesterday for veterans. Did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I went out. That was very, very easy for me. If I didn't have back surgery, I could have ran the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to boast. I just want to say that to encourage people.
Let me ask you this.
What?
With the hyperbaric medicine, or therapy, would it fall more under the alternative therapy, or will it fall under modern medicine? Is it being used more for people alternatively, or is it the doctors using it today?
That's a good question, Paul. I hate to say that, that's a good question, because that's another thing I hear that, to me, I don't. But the point I'm trying to make, it all depends. It should be part of modern medicine, because anybody that has problems, I mean, done under supervision, the proper supervision by a medical doctor or a chiropractor, I mean, they're going to have benefits. So everybody should be made aware through our social media or educational system to make people aware how beneficial this is. And you know what happened?
That's why we're doing this video. Yeah, that's why we're doing this, because it's so important, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you know what happened to me? I've always been kind of like an adventurer. I've done some things. I had some pretty bad injuries. I've had 4 brain concussions. I think if I didn't live the way, and I was unconscious once for 15 minutes, you know all about that.
Yes, yes.
I think if I wasn't living the way I was living and getting into a hyperbaric chamber, years ago, I put pictures of me in a high-pressure hyperbaric chamber on Instagram. That's probably still on there. Yeah. And forget about for an athlete. For an athlete, it's going to give you an edge. You know, no two ways about it.
It's not something that medical insurance would most likely cover in this.
Yes, it's covered now, I think, in 14 different conditions. Diabetic should be. Medical insurance should cover everything. Anybody that gets into a hyperbaric chamber, you know, should be able to have medical coverage. Yeah. And you know, they're trying to make it so you have to go to your medical doctor to get a prescription to get into it. Meanwhile, I know somebody just went to his medical doctor. The doctor said you don't need that. He did need it. The doctor wouldn't write a prescription. You have to go to the doctor that runs the hyperbaric unit and let him, you know, okay it or write the prescription. When you go into a good unit, I go to a place called Adaptive RX here in Middletown, New Jersey. It's run by a doctor by the name of Christian, I forget his last name, Repetone, I think.
Well, what conditions have you seen people heal by using the hyperbaric?
Well, I don't want to use the word heal. You know, now I want to try to propose it as a cure.
Well, let's say improve. What conditions have you seen?
Oh, just about everything. Look at me. Look what happened to me. And don't forget, I lived in a house that was infected with mold. It was a miracle. It ate a hole right through my skull. It helped me.
So besides the 2 conditions,
autism, you name it.
Besides the 2 conditions you mentioned, everything else it'll be good for.
Under supervision, yes, right.
Okay.
Except for the only 2 conditions a person should not be getting into a hyperbaric chamber is if they can't clear their ears, the eustachian tubes, and if you got a hole in your lungs. And of course, you want to consult with an expert in hyperbaric medicine. And I suggest everybody watch that Jason Soner's videos. He's I just found out about him in about the last year. And I've been exposed to hyperbaric oxygen therapy, they call HBOT, for at least 30 years. And I'm impressed with that guy. So I would check him out.
How many years ago did you first get into a chamber yourself? Do you remember?
At least 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Now, I know it's good for all these diseases, as you're saying. What about for anti-aging? I mean, are people using it for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. So, and athletic performance, energy, disease, anti-aging. So,
remember, here's what you got to remember. The whole premise behind life is to get more oxygen to a cell. There's a lot of cells because of inflammation and other reasons. The cell is becoming a weaker cell, a dying cell, because of some reason or other, it's not getting sufficient oxygen to sustain a healthy life of that cell. So when you get into a hyperbaric chamber, if you check a person's oxygen, by putting that thing on your fingertip, and their oxygen is 99, it doesn't mean that not that much oxygen is going to every cell in their body. There might be cells in their body that are being deprived of oxygen. But then when you put that person in the chamber and you increase the atmospheric pressure, listen, you don't go in there once and expect a miracle. You have to go in there. The effects are cumulative. And of course, different chambers are different. Low pressure chambers, 1.3 atmospheres, 1.4 atmospheres, medium chambers, 1.5 atmospheres. They all have wonderful benefits. But low pressure chambers are better in some respects. High pressure chambers are better in other respects. Now, there are a lot of hospitals that have high pressure chambers, but they flood the chamber with oxygen, which I would never get in a chamber that's full. I'd rather see ambient air, which is atmospheric air at atmospheric pressure in the chamber, and you're wearing a mask. So, you gotta look into it and do the research and find a place where the prices vary dramatically. You can go to a place where they could say, if you went to a hospital for a hyperbaric chamber, you could pay $1,000. If you go to a place has a chamber and they're reasonable, and you sign up for a package like 20 sessions, 21-hour sessions, it could be $2,100. And it's worth every penny of it.
What if people wanted to buy their own chamber? Is that practical or not practical?
Yeah, you could buy a low pressure 1.3 atmosphere chambers, a good size one, probably starting at don't quote me on it, $800-900. I have a low pressure chamber. It cost me $1,400. It's big. It's a soft shell chamber, but because in the community I live, I can't use it. I keep it in the garage.
If you use it the right way, is the cheaper ones more? Do they do everything the more expensive ones do?
If you get one that's 1.3 atmospheres, yeah, I won't say it does everything, but it's very beneficial. But you wanna get a little bit of an education, know what you're doing in there. I mean, I've seen people, I had somebody once that I wanted to help them, and they took a kid in there. They didn't know what they're doing. I wouldn't let that happen again.
Sure. What about, besides the physical body, what about neurological things, strokes and other mind issues and brain issues? Is it just as good for that as well?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. I saw a guy that was in that had been in a coma for months, had a stroke. I saw him. I mean, I wasn't there to see him wake up, but he did wake up. Now, Paul, it's really
Besides the two conditions you said that it shouldn't be used for, are there any side effects for anyone else using it if it's done under supervision?
Any side effects?
Negative side effects. Any that you know of?
Under supervision, at the right atmospheres? No, not really. Some of the side effects might be beneficial. They might be beneficial effect that the person misinterpreted as a side effect. Now, listen. I've seen cops and firemen from 9/11 that were having trouble getting a hyperbaric chamber do very, very, show significant improvement.
Now, I know there are so many people in different stages of their own health challenges, so they're going to have a different rate of healing. But can everyone expect, or does everyone respond the same way to results pretty much?
No.
Or is it just at different levels?
No, yes, everybody responds based on, don't forget, no people have the same chemistry. Don't forget, everything is chemical and everything is action and reaction. So two people are two different people. They might have a different reaction, but it's all good. Done under the right supervision, it all should be beneficial to one degree or another. Of course, people should consult, if they do go to a hyperbaric unit, make sure the person is qualified. That's the important thing, which, that's not hard to do.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about hyperbaric medicine today?
Well, some people think it's going to explode or something like that. They had an accident many, many years ago when they filled the chamber up with pure oxygen and something went wrong, and they had a fire. But or you could you have a very good chance to have an oxygen toxemia, which is not impossible, but it's not likely. You know what I mean? There's, the misconceptions could be just about anything. You know what I mean? It's just like, all the misconceptions out there, especially. I mean, you're hearing all these experts telling people you can't live on a raw diet. That's utterly ridiculous. The only thing, it's the reason that they say that, some of the experts, they're going by abstract science from double-blind studies. So they're not going to apply the science that applies to a person on a raw diet by the true science of how the body responds to what you're doing, like protein.
Sure.
There's so many people telling people they got to have a certain amount of protein, and it's got to be animal protein per body weight. I ignore that stuff like that. I never went by any of that stuff.
You mentioned people aren't going to see miracles after one session. How many sessions would a person need before they're actually realizing and seeing some results?
Well, of course, everybody's different again, right, Paul?
Yes.
If somebody goes in there and is very healthy, you're probably going to see results which might not be as noticeable quicker. But usually I would say, but someplace between 10 and 15 dives, 10 and 15 sessions in the hyperbaric chamber. But, this time I hadn't been in the hyperbaric chamber in a while. I noticed it quickly.
Can other therapies like nutrition or fasting and other things, detoxing, can that help or and use together with hyperbaric medicine?
Yeah, anything. Well, there's a lot of things that could work. Yeah, that's of course. I mean, I'd rather say that the hyperbaric medicine is going to help you. Hyperbaric chamber is going to help you with, detox and things like that. As far as getting into a hyperbaric chamber when you're fasting, I would say consult a fasting expert. But I've done it. But I wouldn't want to see people try all the things I've done in my life.
Yeah, and what advice would you give somebody who's considering hyperbaric oxygen for the first time? What would you tell them?
Make sure you consult an expert. Watch the Dr. Jason Sana's videotapes. He's very, very good. He has a bunch of them. He just about covers the whole subject.
Yes.
It's not really nothing to be afraid of. Done correctly. It's of course, there's a lot of people out there. You tell them that you try to encourage them to do something, and there's plenty of people out there that don't follow direction well. You know that.
Yeah. So for
one of the most, if you look at that, that tech millionaire, that guy,
Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson.
He said all the things he did, nothing showed up better with his anti-aging markers than a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, he reversed some things.
He reversed. He said it worked better. Of course, there's people that recommend red light therapy with it, methylene blue. There's a lot of things like that. They all have their benefits. And of course, there's other oxygen therapies like EWOT, that's exercise with oxygen. I've done that. I've seen miraculous recoveries with people. I've done it, even just breathing oxygen can make a person feel better temporarily,
Yeah.
But you gotta get good advice, anybody's having some kind of a problem, or anybody that's getting old, as far as anti-aging, I think it has wonderful benefits.
So, how young can somebody get in? Could children get in it or no?
Yes. If you have under medical supervision, I knew a guy that was a pediatrician. Was probably the best pediatrician I ever come across. There's a lot of, it will help a child that has autism. Some things like that. when I was going into it, I seen a child in a couple of months that was autistic make a dramatic improvement. He was going into the same chamber I was going into.
Now, how does it affect the lungs? Because the lungs and oxygen go hand in hand. So, like, if
If you got a
somebody,
hole in your lung, you can't do it. There's a medical condition, the label for that. I forgot what it is. But if you have a lung condition, if you have severe emphysema, you can't do it, or you have to be done by a real expert. But if you have a medical condition, it's a minor condition, you consult the doctor that runs a hyperbaric unit, and he'll tell you, if you can do it and how safe it is. But, under knowledgeable supervision, there's a lot of conditions, done at lower pressures people can handle. I don't want to say publicly, because you know how the public is. Somebody will have to do something that's kind of, and the questions you're asking me are not all black and white. There's a big gray area in here.
sure. Well, if people are looking to get into health and they haven't been eating healthy or living healthy, when would you say they should introduce the hyperbaric oxygen? Should they do it immediately, or should they do some other things first? A detox first? What do you think they should incorporate?
It all depends. If they're not going to do anything else, getting into a hyperbaric chamber could help them. If they're capable of changing their lifestyle, remember the three most important things to be healthy is lifestyle, exercise, and sleep. If you're doing those three things and you get into a hyperbaric chamber, you're going to have much better results than if you're not doing those three things and you're getting into a hyperbaric chamber. You can still have some results, but you're not going to go as, you're not going to get the same results,
If you could leave people with one message about the power of oxygen therapy and healing naturally, what would that message be?
It's a dramatic modality, and if you have a condition that's worth looking into, start out by listening to Jason Saunders, and then if you're encouraged by that, find a hyperbaric unit, with a good doctor on staff, and then give it a go. You won't be disappointed.
All right, Dr. Bisci, can somebody overdo, if they're supervised, can they overdo? Is it possible to overdo the oxygen therapy, or can you do it too much?
Not if you're properly supervised. It's pretty hard to do too much. You're better off, like if you're getting into a chamber, if you're getting into a high pressure chamber at 2 atmospheres, and you get in 7 days a week, week after week, you're going to do too much. But a real competent a doctor that supervises that kind of a chamber is not going to do it. If you're getting into a low pressure chamber, 1.3 atmosphere, and you want to do an hour, you could probably do it 6-7 days a week because it's a low pressure chamber. You got to have the right supervision. As far as I know, all the doctors I know that supervise hyperbaric oxygen chambers, they're all knowledgeable. Like the chamber where I go, there's a doctor, Christian Peppertone, Adaptive RX. He's a chiropractor. He's very, very knowledgeable. He's very, very, he takes no risk. He's very cautious. So you got to go to the right type of place. That's all.
If somebody's doing the lower chamber that they can get in their own house, and it's the lower ambient air you were talking about.
No, the ambient air is in the chamber. You're getting the oxygen from a mask. There are high pressure chambers in hospitals where the air in the chamber is not ambient air. The whole environment in the chamber is pure oxygen. That's risky under certain circumstances.
So when somebody's looking for this type of therapy, do they need to ask that? Is that only done in a hospital with high pressure, or there's some of the therapies out there?
As far as I know, I don't really know too many people that have chambers that. I've been in a chamber go up to 2 atmospheres, but that I wore a mask or a cannula.
If why are the doctors in the hospitals doing it different than the therapists?
Because some people have bad skin conditions, maybe diabetic gangrene, and they're very strict. You can't go in there. You have to take a shower before you go in. You have to wear special garments. You can't have hairspray. They're worried about having a spark, and they think it's more healing. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe it's possible they know more about it than I am. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate expert.
Well, if somebody has a later stage disease, I mean, and the hospital's offering it, I mean, should they go and try to get it from a therapist, or should they go to the hospital? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it could make a difference. It could make a difference, plus wise or minus wise. You know what I'm saying? I'm very leery because you take a doctor that hyperbaric medicine is just part of his medical repertoire is one thing. When you take a doctor that runs a hyperbaric chamber, hyperbaric chamber is their specialty. That's their sole experience. They might have put, 10,000 people in the chamber. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people go to the hospital, try to get into the hyperbaric chamber. If it's not covered by insurance and you're going to pay out of pocket, they're not going to put you in there. Well, I'm very leery. I'm very doubtful about the way people, the information people are given, which people think is,
Sure. So what if somebody called you up and they said, Fred, I found somebody who's very knowledgeable about this, and they have a local office, but the doctor wants me to do it at the hospital. I mean, what do you tell them?
He has a local office, but he wants to do it at the hospital?
No. If somebody says they found a therapy like the one you go to, the guy you go to who's experienced, but the hospital wants to do it also, would you recommend one over the other?
Yeah, unless they have it, I would go to the guy that's outside the hospital. That's what I would do.
Okay. And if somebody has it in their own house, one of these chambers like you did, can they, if they use it more often, can they end up getting the same result of using one of those more powerful machines in the offices less frequently? Will they equal the same results?
It's possible. I mean, you'd have to do it a lot longer. It's quite possible. It's a higher pressure chamber. Remember what I said at the beginning. A low pressure chamber, 1.5 atmospheres, has, in some respects, has more benefits than a high pressure chamber that has 2 atmospheres. But in other respects, a high pressure chamber, 2 atmospheres, could have more, in some respects, more of a benefit. But it's all good. It's all good. You know what I'm saying?
How long are people staying in it? How long is a session usually when you go? How long does it usually last?
If the doctor determines you need an hour and a half, I've been in for an hour and a half, or you could go an hour. The last time I was in the chamber was for an hour.
And how do they determine that? Do they monitor you while you're in there, or is it?
No, they determine by the condition you have. Certain conditions, you got. It's always good to jumpstart it by going 5 times the first, 5 times the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, to get like a build up, to get things going. Then you can do less. It all depends upon what the doctor determines, how much you need to start with based on your condition, But Paul, remember, there's no hard and fast formula for this.
Got you.
This is not like the protein formula.
Is it something like you have to work up to stay in there longer, or
no, not at all. No, they could adjust the pressure to that.
And when you're going in there, I mean, is it better from a clothing standpoint? Does it make a difference, or is it better to wear natural fibers versus unnatural fibers? Like, does it make a difference or not really?
No, if it's ambient air and you've got a mask on, you can go in there with your regular clothes, If you're going into a chamber, I was in one chamber once, the guy made us take off all your clothes and put a thing on like you're going into the hospital. So I thought the chamber was going to be full with not ambient air, but oxygen. It wasn't. He was just, he was a little paranoid, I guess. Some people can make an objective, responsible decision because they're afraid of making a mistake. They don't have confidence in their own experience, their own knowledge. I wouldn't go to somebody like that for anything, because those kind of people are always hedging because they're afraid of making a mistake or getting sued. You want to stay away from people that are unsure of themselves.
I know it's different for everyone, but have you personally known people with later stage cancers that have started using oxygen therapy and they showed an improvement in their condition?
No, but I've seen people get treated with cancer and do well. Not later stage, not terminal cancer.
Okay. But earlier stage, you've seen them do well.
Paul, everything about life is being able to carry more oxygen. It's a known scientific fact that cancer does not do well in a high oxygen medium. It doesn't mean it's a cancer cure, though. I want the public to understand what I'm trying to say. I know I'm not the clearest speaker in the world, but I want people to understand the point I'm trying to get across.
And we get the point. I believe you're expressing it really well. And what from this conversation, if there's one thing somebody should remember, what would you want that to be?
Going into a hyperbaric chamber, HBOT is a valuable tool in many cases where people are having problems. It's valuable for athletes, anti-aging, very good for anti-aging. It could prolong a person's life for sure. I don't make absolute statements. I don't do that because there's too many variables in the human chemistry. No two people are the same. That's why when somebody comes out and says you need 80, 100 grams of protein per body weight per person, to me, that's ridiculous. I have to admit it, because everybody's different. If you're more biological efficient, I've run marathons on less protein than that. I'm a pretty strong guy, even though I'm old and frail looking. That's not the case. I mean, I'll be 96 years old in what? 17 days. And I just did I just did something yesterday that was very easy for me. And I'm not saying any of this to boast. I'm just trying to use this as an example to encourage people to be very careful about what you believe, especially on social media. I think social media is getting to be, a mixture of, a bunch of mixed information that's just leaving people, undecisive, where they can't make a decision.
How often?
My advice is don't do anything radical until you investigate it to make sure, and that goes with diet, that goes with anything else. That's like taking a person that has no training and taking them out on a 50-mile run. That's what you don't want to do that. If you want to be an ultra marathon, you got to train, you got to do long runs. It takes time, and of course, some people are gifted. There are a lot of people that are gifted. I've seen people step right into long distance running it was amazing.
How often do you get in the chamber these days?
I try to get in 2 to 3 times a week. Of course, I'm a very busy guy. Like I was supposed to go tomorrow, now I got something I got to do. Then Tuesday, I got to go with my daughter someplace, so I can't do it then. And, whenever I have free time, I get into the chamber.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. Thank you for taking the time to talk about this. And everybody, I'm going to put those links below under the video here so you can look more into all those links. Watch those videos that Dr. Bisci was talking about and research the people locally that are doing it. More and more people are doing that now. Dr. Bisci, thank you so much.
Oh, I'm in the twilight of my life. I want to help as many people as I can. I don't have a financial agenda. I have no, there's nothing in it I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I have a lot of experience. I have a good background, and I want to be able to share this before the good Lord takes me home.
My desire to have you on the show is not financially based. It's not popularity based. I've done a lot of research, and I know the knowledge you have about this and your heart to help others. And I have that same desire to help others. That's why I desire to have your information out there. So thank you. And anytime you want to do a video, you let me know and we'll just do it just like this.
All right, Paul. All
Thank
right.
you, Fred.